Hello and welcome to a special edition of Roundtable, Global South, Next Generation, Voices and Visions. I'm He Young, coming to you from Beijing. As the Global South rises in its influence, we see its young leaders stepping forward, not only to be heard, but also to take part in shaping a more just and sustainable future. Today, we bring together voices from different continents, united by passion and purpose. Joining me today are three wonderful guests. Hannah Hopper, chair of the South African Youth for International Diplomacy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And Hemaresh Suwan, chairman of the Confederation of Young Leaders of India. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And finally, Azzazuddin Ahmed, executive secretary of the Asian Youth Council. Welcome to Roundtable.
Thank you very much.
Yes, let's begin by grounding ourselves into the heart of today's theme, the Global South. What does it mean to you, not only in terms of geography, I'm sure that's what people think of first in mind, but also in terms of experience, identity, and potential? And let's start with the lady first. Hannah, what do you think?
Sure, thank you for the question. When I think of the Global South, three words come to mind: potential, innovation, and hope. Most Global South countries have faced a number of complex challenges. If we look at history, the number one thing that has affected all Global South countries economically, politically, environmentally has been colonization. And those effects are still being felt today. But despite that, we see Global South countries rising when it comes to sports, technological innovation, the arts, academia. And I think that this is a great example of our ability to persevere. One thing I want to mention about this is that we have the opportunity as Global South countries to learn from both the failures and the successes of the developed world. So we have an opportunity to do things differently, to develop in a different way. And if we look at energy generation as an example, most developed countries have developed their economies off the back of coal and oil. But we have the opportunity to do that differently and to address the climate crisis. And we see that with the large investments in renewable energies in the Global South.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And also, I'm sure this is something also I'm very much looking forward to coming from all of your answers. And Hannah, you're from South Africa. So your answer just also brings me back to some of the histories unique to South Africa. And no doubt that you come up with also a very thoughtful answer right there. And Suwan, you're from India, and you've been engaged in youth diplomacy and setting up universities and all kinds of creative and exciting things in India. What are your thoughts when it comes to the Global South? Is there anything different from, just thinking about developing nations?
I think, I come from a land which has always, exposed to the maxim that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. So when I hear about Global South, I think about that having the entire global civilization into one common yarn. And that is very similar to the values that the Chinese president also resonates, that we must build a community with a shared future for mankind. And it is very important, as Hannah rightly pointed out, that we have shared aspirations, shared challenges. It is very important that we walk hand in hand so that the developed countries help the developing countries help the least developed countries. And in this way, we could create a common yarn where the entire world could thrive and the civilization could prosper. That is my take on the Global South.
That is a grand and deep take on the Global South, and I already feel very inspired by that. What about you, Azzazuddin?
Yeah, I think what my friend just said just now is the complexity of the youth right now, to live in peace, in education, to have a proper education, and to share the proper prosperity and employment. This is the issues which come to their mind, I think, right now.
Yes, definitely. And what you mentioned is, I think, what a lot of people would aspire to, right?
Yeah.
It's part of human nature. And I think realizing these things are important in terms of having that as a premise and coming up with responding policies, which we will get into
Yeah.
later on. And young people are not short of energy, ideas, urgency, and perhaps a dash of idealism to a certain extent. Why do you think young voices are so important in policymaking?
You see, the young voices right now is very important, especially for the countries who have democracy rights to vote. You know, some other countries comprise 60% of the population is young voters. So their voice is very much important to the government.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the global south, the majority of the population is made up of young people. And as you mentioned, we face a lot of challenges today, whether it's the climate crisis or wars, economic decline, growing inequalities. Young people want to be a part of the change, and they deserve to be because they make up most of the population. And on top of that, they are the ones that are going to inherit this world and inherit the decisions that are made today. So it's absolutely essential that their voices are heard. And we see a positive move towards this, but I believe we still have a long way to go.
Well, the African continent comprises of 60% of its population of those being under the age of 25. So
That's
it's
right.
a very young continent. And of course, young people's voice is important because these are the people who are going to be affected the most with a
Exactly.
lot of these related policies. Yes, and speaking of another very youthful country with a young population, India is definitely a big country like that. So, Suwon, what are your thoughts when it comes to what can young people bring to the table that is often missing in traditional politics? You know, why is it important to have young people at the table in making these decisions?
Thank you. You know, India is an old civilization, but a young country. So as you rightly pointed out, that more than 65% of India's population are youth. And I often say that youth are not useless, but they are used less. You know, so that's the entire context. And we in India, we are promoting young people to a great extent, be it the support from the public and the private sector. So we have created different channels of providing them employability, providing them a better standard of living, including accessible education. So in India, we have been focusing a lot on the SDG 4, that is on equality, on education. And we have launched various programs. One such program that I would like to mention today is, in Hindi, we say, Sabko Shiksha, Achhi Shiksha, which means that good education, but it is more important that we give affordable education. So that is the essence of what India is doing. And we have been able to literate more than 70% of our population. That's a big task. You know, we are a country of 1.44 billion. And educating more than 70% of our population is a milestone for a country like India, being a developing country. So we really wish to share our expertise with other friends in the global south who are also having the similar concerns and similar challenges. And we hope that we could together share the pain and also the victory together with our friends in the global south.
Yeah, that is something that will definitely resonate with so many people in China. Before the founding of People's Republic of China, well, the literate rate was something hovering around the lower of the double digits. Now we have a literate rate of above 90%.
That's
And
amazing.
it's a lot of hard work and generation after generation. And I think that's something very special for countries in the global south to compare notes, to encourage each other, and also taking under consideration that every country has a very unique history and past and reality. Respecting that and also working together. That's something we be very happy to see for sure. And all of you are somewhat involved in policy. Getting involved in this area can sound very intimidating for a lot of people, but you've all made ways to make it real. And I'm wondering for folks out there, how can young people get involved in shaping policy, both locally and globally? It's a big question,
It's
isn't
a
it?
big question. You see, in ASEAN, AYC, we try to bring all these leaders, the young leaders, all over the countries. I mean, around 25 countries as a member of AYC. We bring them together to understand the issues. You know, the main issue that we're going to speak is about peace. Peace can come with many forms. And then when we bring them together, then we stretch out the issues. We make them understand the issues. We make them how to solve the issues, and then how to bring it to the policymakers, to each countries. So from there, they can say it right properly, you know, how to address it, how to put it in writing, or to voice it out properly in manners, you know, not because you get angry, because you understand the issues. This is very important. So our role is to bring these leaders to some sort of like understanding the issue and bring it properly to the policymakers, so that the policymakers understand and commit and make them participate. This is very important. Some of the issues brought up by the youth sometimes is not in a proper manner. You know, when they brought in a proper manner, then there will be a trouble with the policymakers, and the policymakers don't look it as very important. But if they behave, and then for me, the youth leader can bring it the issue properly and then make it very strong points to the policymaker. I don't see why the policymakers is not get the youth involved.
See, you point to something that is a practicality and perhaps a technicality, because if you're a young person who has strong feelings about a real issue in your life, and how can you make it presentable and easy to digest, maybe?
And very important.
Yeah, and speak in a shared language in the right manner that you just mentioned.
Right.
I think that's definitely useful for anybody in that position to know. And so you're saying that if you're not presenting in the right manner, it might be shoot down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to add to that. I think that the barrier to entry, as you said, to be a part of policy making for young people is quite high. But that doesn't mean that it's impossible. And I think, as you said, to raise these matters in a way that is digestible and professional is definitely a good starting point. But I will say, from my experience attending multilateral youth events, I have seen time and time again young people raise the bar and show up in a way that is incredibly inspiring. And I think that if young people are given more opportunities like that, they will continue to impress us. And so I think that, yes, they should present their ideas in a dignified manner, but I also think that their voices should be taken more seriously by those in leadership positions.
Yeah. How does that land in a different cultural and national context, such as India?
So I fully agree with both of my friends who mentioned about that. Actually, the young people are more than ready to contribute to the policy development, but we need to create adequate platforms. And I think platforms like World Youth Development Forum should be created across the globe, so that more and more young people could get such opportunity, get such chances, where they could directly raise their questions to the attending ministers, attending high-level functionaries. And this is the best way one can raise their voices. if they have any concern regarding the youth development and youth promotion. So I firmly believe that we should have more branches of the World Youth Development Forum in different countries, so that we can actually create and co-create a community where the young people could live together in harmony and peace, and also at the same time be a strength to each other. That is very important.
Yes.
I always say 1 + 1 is 11.
Mm.
Should always be that strength to the young society of the world.
I have an incredible success story, if I can share it with you. In 2023, one of our South African delegates to the Y20 in India, he had this burning idea to incorporate the African Union into the G20. Prior to that, South Africa was the only African country in the G20. And not only is that a big burden for South Africa to carry, but of course cannot represent the entire continent's views, desires, challenges. So he brought this idea forward. His name's Kurtley Alat. And the policy was added to the final Y20 communique, which was then handed over to the G20 leaders. And that policy was passed. And so this is the first year that the African Union is now a part of the G20. And I think this is an incredible story of how just one young person can make a continental impact.
Yes, and Suan, you spoke to me before we turned on the mic that you've actually been to China 17 times. And I was astounded by that number. So have your perceptions changed towards, the young people here?
I think, this time when I was at the immigration, I asked the immigration officer that, can you tell me that how many times I have been to China? He told me that it is the 17th time that you're visiting China. So I'm very happy about that. First time I visited China was in 2018. And 2018, when I was visiting China, some of my friends said, because, as my friend said that, what we see on social media is far from reality. And a lot of young Indians, they saw that, okay, if you go to China, you might not have that sense of freedom, or, you might not enjoy to the fullest. But when I came to China, I mean, my perception towards China changed to a great extent. I told them that, they're more free than you are. So I think that was something very astonishing. And when I met young people, when I encountered the All China Youth Federation, I could see that the Chinese people are full of zeal. They are very hardworking and a very innovative society. I mean, if you meet any Chinese young person, he or she has a lot of innovation and innovative mindset ingrained into it. So that's something what impressed me a lot about China. And of course, it goes without saying that the China is a very, very hardworking society, So that's something that we all should ingrain in us. And that's my takeaway, from my visits to China.
And just to add as well, the World Youth Development Forum, which is hosted by the All China Youth Federation, has brought the three of us together on a number of occasions, and not just us, but hundreds of youth from all over the world. And from my experience being a part of an event like this, it has opened my mind to learning about different cultures. Yes, we all share different and similar challenges, different challenges, but there is opportunity for us to learn from one another and grow a lifelong friendships.
Appreciate each other, appreciate each other culture.
That's very
we are
important.
different. We have differences, but we appreciate it. We understand it. That's it.
Yes, you guys mentioned the organization that brought you guys together here on this trip. And also when we talk about, deepening international collaboration, especially for young people in the world, organizations like the All China Youth Federation has been supporting this global outlook for years by encouraging international exchange, innovation, and youth diplomacy, and through some very exciting programs programs, all kinds of youth exchange programs that involves the ASEAN countries and China, Central Asian countries and China, and just about everywhere. And through these programs, like you guys mentioned, now in a way, it's a little bit like a luxury to actually physically be in the same space to meet up and exchange ideas, because it seems like anything can be done in the internet. But when these moments do happen, and these are like put cherries on top that do happen, you see the most wonderful sparks that come from that. And for all of those out there who are watching this or listening to this, and if they aspire to what you guys do, then what kind of skill set or mindset do you think is necessary to achieve that goal? Siwan?
So I think nobody is a born leader. So I think that the sky is the limit for them. They need to understand their own talent. And if you are a musician, you can become at one point of time a very famous musician. If you're interested in academics, be academician. So it depends on your interest line. And I think you have to catch yourself young, understand yourself better, that what my capacity and capability is. And then the world is all yours. We have institutions like ours. We have institutions like the All China Youth Federation. We have many such federation institutions across the globe. And they're there to help you to raise your voice, and to help you, dream big, and actually help also to realize that grand vision of having something big in life.
Yeah, I think that's really great that you shed light on, well, everybody's got something special, and it's important to find it and magnify it. And it could be, possibly one great asset of yours in developing in life. But also, what about, more practical skills? I'm thinking about possibly public speaking, strategic thinking, negotiation, or maybe something else. How can young people train or prepare ourselves to get into the world that you guys have been talking about?
I think maybe not the right answers.
There's no right or wrong.
Right.
Yeah. Just like
But I
life.
think the right mindset is, for me, is for the strategic thinking. We have to develop them a strategic thinking about how they see the world. Yeah, right. The right knowledge, the right attitude, the right medium, and the inclusive dialogues. These 4 elements for me is very important for them to understand, to become a great or the good leader or a great youth. I remember when we do this discussion and sharing ideas, sharing experience, maybe they don't change overnight. But when we give the right knowledge and this kind of attitudes and the strategic thinking in their mind, when they see something happening to the society, they know how to do it. Let's say I have a case, I have a story that one youth, when they saw the snow, the neighbor is in poverty, don't have any shoes, they don't have any toys to play, not able to have an opportunity to read because there's no light. So they take an effort, to bring all the friends, share all the toys, and then bring to the society, to the community. I think this is what we need to tell them. You can do you can do a little, but change a lot. This is how you can put up the strategic thinking, how to see the world. This is very important.
Yeah.
They can make changes, which we don't know, but this is happening.
Yeah, I love what you said, and to add to that, I think there's so many skills that young people can acquire that, of course, will help them in whichever future they decide to pursue. But I think the thing that young people should always come back to is a sense of passion and purpose Why are you taking this path? That is the most important thing, because that will keep you going. If I look at myself, I was a very shy high school student, believe it or not. I used to be very scared to do oral presentations and would pretend to be sick sometimes. Um, but I have a huge passion for creating a more just and sustainable future. And so I have pushed myself out of my comfort zone. Never in my wildest dreams would I think I'd be sitting here in China next to all of you speaking on a podcast. I could never have imagined that for myself. But my passion for my work has pushed me beyond my anxieties, because when I feel an anxiety, I just remember why I'm doing it, and that disappears. So I would say that the sooner young people can figure out what their why is, what their purpose in this life is, that is the thing that will be the golden thread throughout their entire life and will ultimately lead them to great success.
Such inspiring words. Couldn't have said it better. Hannah, well done. Well, now let's pivot towards, the organizations and the big forums and, these big events. Sometimes involves a lot of people coming in from different backgrounds and speaking. And there are some critics that might say, oh, these forums are more about talk and little in action. I wonder if you have some thoughts about that, and also how can these platforms be a bit more effective? And feel free to take it away. Suwon?
Yeah, I think that you made a valid point. But at the same time, I believe that if 100 conferences are taking place in a year, and even if out of 100, 5 are successful with tangible result outcome of it, it makes sense of having such conferences, because you have to at least give a try. At least through conferences, we give a try. Some big conferences takes place in the world. Some countries in the global south, they derive some great investments out of it. But some conferences takes place with no such result. But that's okay. I mean, that's the essence of, at least there's a meeting of minds. You're networking, you're meeting new people, new mind, and you never know who could actually help right to destiny. Whom you encounter one day at such meeting, at such conference, that you will get what you have always dreamt of. So I think it's very important to have such conferences, and we must take it into a positive light of that. It's very important to have more conferences, because you never know which conference could be a game changer for anyone.
Yeah, I totally agree. Potentially sometimes the outcomes are not always so easily quantified. But I can tell you from just attending events myself that even if, a policy recommendation doesn't get passed, like the example that I shared earlier of one of our delegates, I think that was an incredible success. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that doesn't mean that there's no benefit, because for myself, I've met incredible people that have become friends. We've ended up traveling together. We've ended up working on projects together. So if it wasn't for those platforms, that would never have happened. So I agree. I think it's always important.
Can you make it more effective?
Let's say NATO, no action, talk only. I think this is issues, and some guys bring this, or you're only talking on the conference, everything. Yeah, like my friend says, nowadays we have a social media. It not stops there, the conference right now. Before, maybe, but now the conference and the issues, everybody talking, the conference is not stops there. It spread. It spreads all over the world. Whatever you talk here will be spreading all over the world, and somebody will pick up. You know, somebody will pick up and make
Very
the
true.
ideas work. Maybe not us, but somebody will pick up and make these ideas work. So you must have this, what Swan said is meeting of minds, meetings of the personal person, because this is where make changes.
Yeah.
You know, like Swan said, we don't know who will make this idea works, but the ideas must be spread, and the spreading the ideas must come from this kind of conference, the meeting of these leaders and ideas means.
And when it's youth leaders and, all these projects that are, essentially youth advocacy, it's important to have these voices heard when otherwise maybe they lack channels
Yes.
or lack visibility, so to speak.
And one thing I want to say, the leaders that we gathered today, you might don't know, maybe they will become another leader in other countries. They will get the information earlier so they can make policies through our conference. Yeah. We don't know this, but this is what our efforts, Some of us may be the leaders of certain countries. They might be a prime minister, they might be a minister. So they got the ideas now how to make the policies, how to make the policy works and suitable to the society. I've seen this before. A lot of young leaders that gathered here, gathered before us, became a very important person in their country, and they are ministers, and they make policies. Say it works, the conference works. You say it doesn't work, it works, right?
Yeah, and sometimes it's just planting a seed, and we never know when the
Trees grow.
benefits of that seed are going to show themselves.
Well, before I let you go and get on your busy lives, what does the word leadership mean to you in face of 21st century challenges? And do you have any parting words or takeaways you'd like to leave with our audience? Suwan, what do you think?
So leadership for me means change, because that's the only hope that we have. We always hope the best from our leaders. So change and hope are the two keywords that I could give today.
Hannah?
Yeah, for me, leadership means serving others. It also means serving our planet. And so I think, a lot of the leadership that we see today in the world is not, in my opinion, true leadership. And I think to create a new group of leaders to emerge, I think it's important for them to be empathetic, to be good listeners, and to be in service of others.
As a Dean?
Yes, for me, leadership takes responsibility and accountability. You do it. It's not for credit, but take responsibility. Dare to take responsibility and accountability. That is a good leader.
Very nice.
All right.
Thank you, Suwan, Hannah, and Azazuddin, for sharing your stories, your challenges, and your unwavering belief in the youth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, here in China, we often say, when the young are strong, the country is strong. But that strength also comes with connection, from learning with and from each other. We hope that today's show will bring you the hope and inspire you to listen more, speak up, and find a way to lead no matter where you are. I'm He Young. We'll see you next time on Roundtable.